Okay, great. We started. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Untitled Chapter Academy. I am Irina. I will talk to you a bit about IELTS academic, specifically writing only. And I have some key points that we will go through today. I chose task 1 and the task 2, meaning a chart and an essay that we will talk about. I will share the screen first. Okay. Good. So we will focus mainly on vocabulary, which means the paraphrasing part, the rephrasing, which is a huge part of solving the writing tasks. What does it mean exactly to paraphrase? Any ideas? Or to rephrase? And what do we rephrase?
To say the same thing with other words, in other words.
Okay, that is right. So for both tasks, actually, you have to try to find synonyms as much as possible for the words that they provide. Try not to repeat exactly all the words that they give, because I always say this, you are supposed to basically impress, right? So even in speaking, try not to use the exact words that you hear in the questions. Try to replace them, yeah, or just describe that idea in a different way. So we are not here to repeat words, you know. Of course, we are not absurd. If needed, you can repeat words, but as much as possible, try not to. Okay, good. And brainstorming, we will also discuss each topic and give some ideas. Okay, and we have the first one here. As you can see, 2 pie charts. Yeah. What other types of charts can you get in task 1?
Bar chart.
Okay, bar chart.
Map.
Map. Table, okay.
Diagram.
Okay, yeah, like a process. Yeah, and a line graph, I think, wasn't mentioned. These are, yeah, all the types that you can have. Sometimes they can be combined. So 1 table and the pie chart. Yeah, 2 tables, and so on. And for maps, usually there are 2 maps, but you can also have 3 or 4. Those are more rare cases, but they exist. They are solved exactly in the same way, though. Okay, so looking at this one here, first, let's look at the task. Yeah, the pie charts show the causes of diseases in developing and developed countries. First, let's try to replace these 2 things. Developing countries, what does it mean, first of all, and developed countries? What's a developing country?
Is it not a country that is still in the process of upgrading?
Yes.
Developing, it's not yet.
Yeah. Developing countries, yeah, like Romania, for example, they are still, yeah, in a process of development. They are not fully developed. Yeah. And compared to the developed countries, we have what, a lower quality of life. Yeah. And all those aspects, like technologically, we are less developed and so on. Okay. So how can we replace developing countries? Like synonyms for developing.
Upbringing? Can we use upbringing?
No. Upbringing doesn't work here.
Economical growth.
Okay, so that's part of the definition, but it's not a synonym for developing country. So we could just say underdeveloped countries. I will write here on the chat as well. So underdeveloped. Yeah, and for country, we could use states sometimes if you want to replace it. Okay. I wouldn't go as far as to use impoverished or poor countries, though they are sometimes used as words to describe developing countries, but I think this one is enough for now. So underdeveloped, or you just describe exactly what, as we discussed. Yeah, countries that are in the process of developing, or okay, good. And developed countries, can we replace this word? Developed.
Can we use rich?
Yes, yeah, you can. Sure. Rich states, rich countries. In this case, it works because there is nothing higher than developed countries. Yeah, they are the like in the top. But underdeveloped countries, yeah, there are some more under us. Okay, so we could say rich. Anything else? We could describe again something like economically and socially advanced states, yeah, or any other words that you find. Okay, anything else that we can replace here? How can we replace pie charts? With Nelly, I discussed something at a previous lesson. I don't know if you remember. There is a tip that I gave. There is a word that replaces all these types of graphs, charts, maps.
Diagram?
No.
Illustration?
Okay, illustration, picture, these ones are okay, but I don't really recommend them. I don't think they are the most academic words that you can use. Picture, illustration, use them if you're out of ideas. It's not a problem. Something that I advise you to use is visual representation.
Oh.
I'll write it here. Visual representation or visual. Yeah. And in this case, we would say the visuals or the visual representations illustrate instead of show, for example, or present causes of diseases. Anything replaceable here? For cause, any synonyms?
Factor?
Okay, some factors for, yeah. We could say source or sources of diseases. I think even like origins, roots. Okay. And for disease?
Sickness?
Yeah. Yes. Illness, sickness, we could use these. Yeah. Okay. Now looking more to the charts. Let's look at the first one. Okay. So maybe Fabian, can you describe what you see in the first chart? What do you notice?
In the first chart, you can see the top three sources of illness in the underdeveloped states.
Yes. Mhm. Okay. More specifically.
Uh, more specifically, the infectious and parasitic diseases take the first place,
Okay.
and just after it comes the heart diseases,
Okay.
and a much lesser proportion, but still important, it takes the cancer.
Okay.
Hello?
You haven't, hello, Alex. You haven't mentioned percentages.
Okay.
Those are also relevant, but we don't need to mention all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and if it's possible for you to replace them with words, something like just under half of the total of total causes. Yeah, instead of saying 46%.
Okay.
Here, the percentages are not super helpful, but whenever you have 50%, 25%, yeah, these ones can be replaced with half, quarter.
Yeah.
And
But if
so,
we say, sorry, if we say almost half, because it's all is okay.
that's correct. Yes, almost half, yeah, of the total causes, or yes, we could say that. Good. So we have them in order, as you said. Good. Let's move on to the second one. And maybe Violetta, can you tell me how they are divided there?
Okay, so in developed countries, we have almost, let me see the biggest one. So the heart disease is like 24% is the highest one. And then it's, sorry?
It's not the highest.
No, no, the highest, sorry, the other one is, okay. So it's the heart disease is 24%, and then it's followed by cancer illnesses, 21%. The lowest one is infection with parasitic disease is 1%. And almost half is the other disease.
It's more than half.
More than half, yeah. More than half is 54%.
Okay. Yeah, so if you want to make like a top, start from the highest value to the lowest, or the other way around.
So it's important to start from the highest one to the lower one, or from the lower to highest, or doesn't matter?
It's not a rule. For example, if you want to group heart diseases and cancer in the same sentence, because the percentages are similar, you can do that. Yeah, it's not an issue. Like if you have a reason and it makes sense and it's logical, you can group them however you feel. But if you want to take them one by one and mention them, yes, start either from the lowest to the highest, or highest to lowest. Yeah, like don't mix them up in a weird way, and don't come back to one if you finish with it, try to say everything you have to say about heart disease, for example. Don't come back to it later.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So there are some differences. Now we should compare the information.
It's funny because in the first visual we can see that infectious has the highest score
Yes.
and other has the lowest score, and in the second pie is quite different. The others has the highest score and the infection has the lowest.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, it's like a reversed.
Quite reverse.
Yeah, they are total opposites, let's say. Yeah, that's a very good observation. Good. What about heart disease and cancer? What's the difference here?
Well, in the developed countries, heart disease is almost the same percentage.
It's double.
It's very similar. It's just cancer is just a little bit less than heart disease in the developed countries, but in the underdeveloped countries, heart disease.
Okay, so someone said almost half.
This is quite high. It's almost half.
If we look at heart disease in both situations, yeah, we can say that what 24% is
Quarter.
yeah, compared to 43%, which is almost half of the causes. Okay.
And cancer is different. It's half, but on the underdeveloped countries, it's almost half. Because it's 9 and here is 21. Less
than okay, like less than half of the causes from developed countries. I mean, is that what you mean?
Yes.
Cancer, okay. We could say that, of course. Yeah, anyway, something to keep in mind, there is no perfect way for you to solve charts. There are plenty of ways, you just have to choose one that suits you and that is logical and makes sense. So everything we said today is correct. Yeah, if you manage to arrange it in a nice way and use the right words, that is just fine. Now let's talk a bit about the paragraphs. How many paragraphs should we have when we describe a chart? Or how do we know the number of paragraphs?
Three.
Okay, why 3?
Introduction.
Okay.
The second one, describe it, and the final one is the conclusion.
Conclusion. Okay, it's not really a conclusion here. How is the last paragraph called for task 1?
It's like a summary of what I said up, like main idea.
Okay, and not really a summary. It's called an overall paragraph because it starts with this word. Yeah, overall. So instead of in conclusion, to conclude, which you should use for essays, here we use this word, overall. And indeed, in the last paragraph, you should mention the most important observation. Yeah, or observations, if you want more. Okay, you said 3 paragraphs. Do we have any other opinions? Like, I don't know, Violeta, if you were at the exam now and you had to describe this, how many paragraphs would you have and why?
I think I will have 3, but I will start with, let me see, to describe this one. But it's like this because the introduction actually we describe what we see in these 2 images.
Mhm. So the introduction usually is just a paraphrase of the topic, meaning that in this case, it would be the visuals illustrate the sources of illness or illnesses in underdeveloped states and industrialized countries, anything like this. So this is the introduction. For task 1, this is all you do in the first paragraph all the time. Just rewrite that topic sentence with slightly different words.
Yeah.
So this is the first one, yeah. Then in the main body, here you can have 1, 2, or 3 paragraphs mostly. You can have more, but in pretty rare cases. In this case here, you can have 1 big paragraph where you just compare the information, yeah, between these 2 charts, or you can have 1 paragraph for the first chart and then another paragraph for the second one, but you have to compare as well the information. Yeah, you can't just describe how it is yeah, in the first then the second without comparing them. Yeah, you should also mention if there is anything similar, yeah, between the 2 charts and so on. Yeah, this part here in the task, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. You will see this in all charts, basically. So this is what it refers to. You have to describe, indeed, but also to compare, to, you know, say something like this value is higher than that one. Yeah, these 2 have a similar value, and so on. So it's not enough to only describe what you see without comparing a bit, if there is anything to compare. Most of the time there is. Yeah, so in this case, I think 1 or 2 paragraphs would be correct to have. And then the last paragraph is this overall, where you mention the most important observation. And here you choose which one do you think is the most important point, looking at all of this. There is no correct answer. It's just your opinion. So what would you mention?
We can use, in my opinion, we can say that in this part. No.
No.
Yes.
In task 1, you never, you are never personal, first of all.
Yeah.
So you cannot say me, you, I, things like that.
Okay.
No. Basically, everything is your opinion, but we don't say it like that. Okay, so what's the most, Fabian, most striking thing for you?
I would say overall the biggest differences we can see are in the infectious and paralytic diseases compared to other diseases.
Okay.
In underdeveloped countries, the infectious diseases make up just under half of the total diseases.
Yeah.
And In the developed countries, we can see just 1%.
Mhm.
And other diseases, it's the exact opposite. In the end, under developed countries, just 2%, and in developed countries, it's more than half.
Correct. Yeah. I was thinking that this is the most important aspect as well. Yeah. This is pretty striking. Okay. Good. Any questions about this one, or can we move on? Or about task 1 in general?
Can we, not about task 1, can we
What? Did you
make an
your
assignment and
connection?
send it to you as a homework?
Yes, yeah. You can write it and send it for sure. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. Next. The
Sorry,
second part.
sorry about how many words we should use here, or doesn't? Sorry.
Yes, the minimum is 150 words.
Mhm.
Okay. So, but here is not super relevant. If you have 150, it's perfect. For the essay, there is another discussion, and here the minimum is 250 words. But most of the time, it's difficult or impossible to write a good essay with only 250 words. Yeah, I doubt that you can have like a good score with only 250, and you will see this as you write essays. Yeah,
Mhm.
that you need more words to express what you really want to say. So I would say 280 words would be like a perfect number of words. Yeah, but if you write more, it's totally fine. 300, even over 300, they are appreciated. Yeah, if they are longer like this, but try to stop at 340, 350. That's a bit too much. Okay. Now let's discuss this one. Nowadays, an increasing number of students prefer to continue their studies abroad. What are the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad? So, as I said, we'll discuss the vocabulary first together, because the first part of writing an essay is rephrasing the task. So this sentence here, we should rewrite it with different words. Okay, nowadays, what does it mean?
In our days, like today.
Yeah, but it's not really okay to use in the essay. That's too personal to say our.
In these days,
Maybe more like at present or currently. Yeah, just sound better than these days. Present, okay. An increasing number of students. Increasing means what?
More.
More. Okay. You could say more and more, but that's repetition, and we try not to repeat words.
Oh.
So
Growing number.
Sorry?
Growing number.
Yes. A growing number. Yeah. That's right. Growing number, okay, of students, we could keep it. prefer to continue their studies. Mm. Or to. We don't need an exact synonym. I mean, we can say they choose to or make the decision to, yeah, continue. Their studies, their academic years or academic.
Can we use education or not?
Yeah. Here I would say that they think about university. So, do you know synonyms for university studies? University is considered higher education. So we could say that. Yeah, they continue or they enroll into higher education studies in a different country than their home or their home country, something like this. Tertiary education is another synonym for university. And I'm sure there are more. Okay. So this is one way of paraphrasing this sentence. As I said, there are a lot of words that you can use. You can change the sentence completely. You don't need to keep the order of words like this. Yeah, it's up to each of you, but just keep the same idea, change the words as much as possible. Okay, so that's the first part. Then let's answer the question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad? First, some advantages.
To improve themselves, to be easier to find a job, to
Yeah, you could mention that by going to university abroad, yeah, most students have this in mind that they will find jobs easier or okay.
A larger amount of topics studied.
That's an advantage.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Can you develop it a bit more?
Oh, let me think.
Yeah.
Different classes that you can take are more spread out in the field. They don't just concentrate on one or two topics. They have a lot more.
I
Think.
I guess, yeah, that depends on on each country, right?
Yeah, it depends, but usually when you go to study abroad,
yeah,
you go to study to a better university than your own.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I would consider it an advantage if they were more focused on what actually matters than have plenty of classes that are not related to the subject.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends, I guess, on each person and what they're looking for.
social life and to make friends.
Yes.
The youngest one, they do uni. That's why, to meet people, to socialize.
Okay. You do this if you go to university in your home country as well, right?
Yeah.
You need to go abroad for
Yeah.
this to
Yeah,
happen.
this is true.
But what happens when you go abroad? An
Yes.
advantage is that you meet probably different cultures or people from. Mhm. That we can say that as an advantage. Okay. Another thing, what they students maybe become more independent, being farther away from their families and so on. We could also mention that it can be an advantage. It can also be a disadvantage. Let's move on to disadvantages.
Be far away from friends and family. This one being independent.
Yeah, we could mention like homesickness and all these things that people get sometimes when they are away from family for a long time. That's a disadvantage for some. Another disadvantage.
Could be more expensive, or it is more expensive.
Okay, most of the time, yeah,
Most
it
of
is
the time.
more expensive. Okay, good. And one more disadvantage.
Language. Maybe sometimes it's hard to
Yes.
speak in another language than yours.
Okay, language barriers or any other cultural barriers, I think they exist as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not with this name, but it works, I guess. Yeah, you could mention that. Okay, so for this type of essay, we need 3 ideas of each, 3 advantages, 3 disadvantages. It's okay to have 2 of each. Yeah, if you reach the number of words, that's also fine. Okay, and that's about it here. These are all the ideas that we need for this essay. As a conclusion to this lesson, I want to emphasize again the importance of vocabulary for the whole exam. In writing, it's the most visible, let's say, because you actually have to think about words and use them in sentences and things like that. But in speaking, you need at least one more way of saying, the same idea. Yeah, as much as possible, we should try to replace words. In reading as well. In the questions, you will find synonyms most of the time of the words from the text. Yeah, they rarely use the same words because then it would be too easy, right? Listening as well. You will hear in the recording synonyms of the words from the questions or the answers. Yeah, so try to improve this as much as possible by just experimenting English, I guess, daily. Of course, reading and looking for synonyms constantly helps, but also watching videos and TED Talks, we recommend those with subtitles. It really helps. You will see a difference if you do it every day, if you watch those videos. Okay, any questions about writing?
In conclusion, what else we can use to start? So we can start in conclusion like this. So
Yes, in conclusion, to conclude, to sum up, I recommend these 3. You only need one at the exam, so any of these is fine. Okay. So don't forget not to be personal. In writing, you cannot talk about your personal experience. That's not recommended. If you do it, do it like people consider, I don't know what, yeah, individuals go through this, yeah, like in general, even if it's personal to you, you have to talk about people in general.
Okay, so in the essay as well, yeah, in the essay.
Yes, in the essay.
Ah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to write your opinion, but that's a more complex discussion. There are some types of essays, yeah, and some of them ask for your opinion, some don't. Okay, that's another discussion. We'll stop here then. If anyone wants to solve the chart or the essay, you can do it. Just send them to us and we'll give you some feedback on it, or just post it as a comment. We'll see it either way. Okay, and if there are any other questions, you can write an email or just contact us on the page. It was nice meeting you, and I'll see you next time at the next free lesson.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
nice day.
much.
Okay,
Thank you.
No worries. Bye.